And I'll just start by saying that just the best way to introduce this is Tucker Carlson had a really interesting guest on his show last week. Dr. Li Mengyan stated during her interview that the COVID-19 virus was made in a laboratory and deliberately released by the Chinese government. She said, yes, of course, it's intentionally, specifically those words. I said in my initial video that I taped back in March that I thought that this was the case because there were a lot of reasons why the Chinese government would like to deflect attention away from many things that are going on in China. Dr. Yan is a well-respected researcher who had previously a high-ranking position with the World Health Organization and worked in a WHO reference lab, the top coronavirus lab in the world at the University of Hong Kong. She said she was one of the first scientists in the world to study the novel coronavirus, fled China, and is hiding and currently fears retaliation because of her situation. But she says in the beginning, she was asked by her supervisor at the lab to take a look at the odd cluster of SARS-like cases that were coming out of mainland China in December of 2019. And this is a quote from her. She says, and the thing is, I get deeply into such investigation in secret from the early beginning of this outbreak. I have my intelligence because I also get my own unit network in China involved in the hospital. Also, I work with the top coronavirus virologist in the world. So together with my experience, I can tell you this is created in the lab and also it is spread to the world to make such damage. And again, so this is what I was saying in the beginning of March that started the firestorm that became like a full-time job just dealing with the COVID stuff. Dr. Yan co-authored a paper on this. It's not yet published in a medical journal, but you can read it online. And I'll just share a little bit of excerpt from that article. Despite its tremendous impact, the origin of the SARS-CoV-2 has remained mysterious and controversial. The natural origin theory, although widely accepted, lacks substantial support. The alternative theory that the virus may have come from a research laboratory is, however, strictly censored on peer-reviewed scientific journals. Nonetheless, SARS-CoV-2 shows biological characteristics that are inconsistent with a naturally occurring zoonotic virus. In this report, we describe the genomic, structural, medical, and literature evidence which, when considered together, strongly contradicts the natural origin theory. The evidence shows that SARS-CoV-2 should be a laboratory product created by using bat coronaviruses ZC45 and ZXC21 as a template and/or backbone. Building upon the evidence, we further postulate a synthetic route for SARS-CoV-2, demonstrating that the laboratory creation of this coronavirus is convenient and can be accomplished in approximately 6 months. Just a side note here, and I want to talk about another paper published on the same thing. There's an entire chapter in our upcoming book, COVID Operation, what happened, why it happened, and what's next on this issue of the origin of the virus. And some of it's way too technical. I had originally thought maybe I would, quote some excerpts from it, but when you get into these DNA sequences and all this kind of stuff, it just doesn't translate very well to the spoken word. It does much better in a written form. So the book will be out in just a couple weeks, and we'll let you know when you can get it. You can read it that way. But this isn't the first paper. First of all, Dr. Yan wrote this paper that I just quoted from with some other researchers. She's not like some kind of lone.
I'm going to interrupt this here, but you can see Pamela Popper COVID-19 update on YouTube. But I just had one comment about that because I'd heard this lady before. I'd heard the theory before, but because it turns out, and I sensed in the beginning, that this virus is really not that exceptional, it didn't make sense. What doesn't add up is the reaction to it. You could create that virus. Let's say it was created. If it was dealt with in the media and by government officials around the world, and I'm not saying there was some conspiracy that everybody conspired together to roll this, to hype it up, but I think that the reaction to it is what was dangerous, what was exceptional, not the virus. It's the reaction to it and the takeover by governments around the world. And even that couldn't have been, you couldn't have had all these mayors and governors and presidents get their heads together in advance. But I think the psychologists or the psyops operation, the small cabal of individuals understood that authorities have a trait in common, and that is that most people probably can't relate to, but people who rise to power, become presidents, politicians, there's just something that about their personality that is the know-it-all personality, know-it-all and want to impose and believe they know what's best for everybody, and they will jam it down your throat. Anyway, that's what I think. Thank you.